Today, I want to talk about the entrepreneurial mindset. What I think you need if you're going to start your own business and be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs come from all different walks of life, all different ages and backgrounds, but I think there are certain commonalities that entrepreneurs have. And the first one is resiliency. It's very difficult to start your own business and to keep it going. And you have to be able to be a person that when you're up against an obstacle, you can keep going. To give you a little background on myself, I own a laundromat. I just authored a book on laundromats. Things are going pretty well. My business is growing. I really appreciate that. But if you go back 10 or 12 years ago, we filed for bankruptcy, my wife and I. I have suffered from severe depression for about 2 decades. I've dealt with that. The last time I had a serious bout, I was hospitalized for it. That's when I said, you know what? I think I'm done working for other people and I want to go work for myself again. And that's when I jumped into the laundromat business. But you have to be able to overcome when you have your own business, because a lot of people are going to tell you no. They're going to tell you they're not interested. This won't work. You're going to struggle maybe to get your first customers. Maybe nobody wants to give you a loan. And it's very easy just to fold up your tent and to say, well, it wasn't meant to be. But the entrepreneurs that you admire, and they don't have to be famous, but anybody I give a lot of credit to, you've had a business for 10, 15, 20 years, you're a rock star, because that is not easy to do. And you have faced a lot of challenges along the way. And I think about, yes, I'm wearing Rocky today because I have a Rocky quote to give you.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
And that's what it's like to be an entrepreneur. You're going to get hit. You're going to get hit again and again and again and again. And you have the ability to just keep moving forward. You also need to have a passion for what you're doing. And I don't want that to be misunderstood because, I'm in the laundromat business and, it's not like I love folding laundry, but I do enjoy the business as a whole. I enjoy meeting the customers and dealing with them. I enjoy growing the business. I really think that laundromats have a bright future with pickup and delivery. So yes, I am passionate about growing my business. If you follow the money, the problem with that is things don't happen very quickly. It takes years usually, to build up a business to where it's really successful. So if you don't enjoy what you're doing, if you don't have a certain passion for that business, whatever that business may be, you're going to burn out long before you ever see the money. Obviously, a lot of people are looking for financial independence when they own their own business, but it's a byproduct of having a successful business. So what they do is, they start the business and they work and they work and they grow it and they make it better. And then one day they look up and it's like, this is worth some money. I'm actually worth some money. I have a nice net worth, but they weren't chasing the money. They were building the business, and because they built something of quality that people want, that's where the money came from. And another thing too with the passion is there's no time clock when you're an entrepreneur. You work for somebody else. Maybe it's 9 to 5. Friday, you punch out at 5 o'clock. And you're not back in until Monday morning. That's great. But for an entrepreneur, there is no time clock. There's nothing that says, okay, at 5 o'clock on Friday, you're finished working. Maybe you work till 8 o'clock and you decide you want to work on Saturday and you can put in some hours on Sunday. So when you're putting in that kind of effort and those hours, you have to enjoy what you're doing. And I want to give you another quote for this one. This is from one of my favorite poets, Henry David Thoreau. I have learned this, at least by my experiment, that if one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with success unexpected in common hours. When you work 40 hours a week, those are the common hours. Everybody works those. The success that we're all trying to achieve comes after those 40 hours when you keep going. You need to have vision. And I'm not talking about being a visionary. I see sometimes people put that in their LinkedIn profile, and I think, like, Steve Jobs was a visionary. But you need to have vision like a painter. You and I would look at a blank canvas and just see a white canvas. The painter has this picture in their mind. They see the final image. And what they need to do is to take that image from their mind and put it on the canvas that the rest of us see. So when you are thinking about your business, you have to be able to see things that other people don't see. You have to see what it is, not at the moment, but what it can be. Let's say you want to start a brand new laundromat. You might just see like an empty building. That's how they all started at one point. You see an empty building and there's dirt on the floor and there's wires from the ceiling. And that's what most people see. But you see that there's a row of dryers over there. This is where we're going to put the washers. Over there is where we're going to drop off the pickup and delivery. Those are going to be the front doors over there. So you have to have that vision. And you also have to be able to fill in some of the blanks sometimes. There are certain people that, to make a decision, they want all the information. As an entrepreneur, you're often making decisions before you have even half the information. You have to make the decision based on the best available information at the time. So you have to be able to sometimes go from A, B to E and down the line, skip some of those and just realize I have to make the best decision and I'll figure it out as I go along. The other day, I had my wife read something and she goes, you can do all this? I said, not yet, but I will be able to. And I'm not talking something like Theranos with Elizabeth Holmes, where she was basically trying to fake it till she made it with people's health, but things are not always going to be built in easy steps. So for example, like I want to start a podcast. There are some things that I've already lined up some guests for the first episode. There are still things that I don't know about podcasting, but between the time that it goes live and as I'm sitting here talking to you, you better believe, I will learn those. With entrepreneurship, you have to be adaptable. You have to be able to go with the flow, because I have said in other videos, and I do preach it, you need a business plan. But your business plan is it's like a roadmap. It's a guide. It's not set in stone. You can change it as you go. You have to be adaptable in business. For example, a few years out of having COVID, look how that changed so many businesses. If you have a new competitor, what if you get an unexpected client or you lose a client? Are you able to adapt? If you're somebody who likes a strict, rigid routine, entrepreneurship is probably not good for you. You have to be able to adjust many times on the fly. This is the situation. It needs an answer. You got to figure it out. Life will just keep throwing you curveballs. So you have to be able to adapt. The last thing I want to mention today is you need to be willing to take ownership. This is your vision. It's your idea. If it doesn't work, it's on you, to be honest with you. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I've had many ideas that just flopped. So they never really went anywhere. I've had some successes. If you know anything about me, I had the mystery shopping business. The laundromat is doing well now. I've written a few books, but I've also laid some eggs. I don't blame other people for them. I told you early in the video that I do suffer from depression. Sometimes it's very bad. And at one point, I do remember I had written a book and I had set up book signings. It was probably 15, 20 years ago. I had set up book signings at bookstores, and the depression would be so bad. I would have my wife call the store and just make up an excuse. I didn't say it was depression, but I just throw out some kind of illness. For some reason, I can't be there. That's how debilitating it was. Some of the things that I've worked on have taken me longer than I had hoped because I had that problem with depression, and life is just not a straight line. But I am where I am, like it or not. And I don't blame the economy. I don't blame politicians. I don't blame COVID. At the end of the day, the person who's going to make you successful or unsuccessful is the man or the woman looking back at you in the mirror. And I take full ownership of that. Like I said, it's okay to fail. I've had some ideas that just, looking back in hindsight, it's like, yeah, they weren't going to work, but I learned from them. I owned my mistakes. I moved forward. Now I'm in a good place. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have other topics dealing with entrepreneurship or laundromats and you want me to make a video on it, please leave it in the comments. If you've stayed this long, please hit the like button and subscribe. And I really enjoy you tuning in today. Thank you.